Hey y'all, it's me, David from the internet, and I'm here with another New Year's Eve resolution type-ish video. It's not a new resolution for me, but kind of an update. But first, this video is sponsored by me! Real quick, you can visit my website, davidleebrown.odoo.com. If you're coming here because of the title, the weight loss and health stuff, then I'm a pastor and I love Jesus like crazy. My website is centered around teaching that I have available to stream or download for free. A book that I wrote called Hearing Love, which is how to hear the voice of the Lord, know Him, and love Him. And then all the music that plays underneath my videos, including this video, is available for download at forloveoftheword.bandcamp.com. But my main website and then all the individual links will be in the description as well. And now, today's video is a part 2 of sorts. I don't really want to spend too much time sharing what I already shared in the first video, which is a little over a year old at this point, so I'll link that video in the description for you, and then I'll also link it at the end of this video if you want to watch the first one. But this is really an update, and I want to focus on where I'm at now, the new material. Like I did in the last video, I'll look at the practical journey, and then I'll look at some spiritual lessons even from that practical journey, which I'm excited to share with you, especially the spiritual side, because there's new lessons. I discovered some new stuff about myself that's really been handy in more than just health. But where am I at now? After that last video, I kept riding my bike and just riding and riding and riding. And those of you who had seen that video might remember my mindset of I didn't want anything super complicated. I just wanted to get active, eat less, and eat mostly better. And that was the 3 big things that I had. And I just fell in love with riding my bike, and it was extremely effective. And so I continued to lose weight even after that video, to the point where I dropped a little over 70 pounds just riding my bike. You know, November comes around, December rolls around, those were great months. That following January after that first video was my biggest riding month to that point, where I had ridden over 1,000 miles, and it's mostly because I got a new bike for my anniversary at the end of December. My wife got a ring and I got a bike, and so I was able to get off that Facebook Marketplace bike that didn't fit me. I was able to get on a bike that fit with a really smooth operating gear set. So I just loved the way that bike felt. It was fast, it was smooth. Finally got bike clips instead of just regular pedals. So much was going on with the bike journey that I was just having fun, but then I'm constantly setting goals. So 2 things about myself is I'm goal-driven and I'm routine-oriented. And so I've always known I'm goal-driven, and so I would put these goals of, hey, I'm going to ride 100 miles once a week, or now I'm going to ride 100 miles twice a week, and I want to ride this much miles per week, and then there's all these rides and races coming up that I wanted to ride in. And so getting ready for those so I can just smash everyone and kick everyone's butt. And I truly got to the point where I could just ride my bike as long as I wanted, wherever I wanted, up whatever hill or anything. I could do anything I wanted on my bike. And I still feel like I have that baseline because I'm able to get on with friends that do ride 100 miles still and go, and I don't do these all the time anymore, but I'll still have that baseline to where I can just get on and go. I built up to the point where I was riding average about 400 miles a week, sometimes more. If I was under 400, then it was usually because I had an appointment or something else made me busy. If I had a 200-something mile week, then I was kind of frustrated, actually. Tried to keep it at least over 300, somewhere between 3 and 4, but averaged around 4, and I was really happy with my over 400 mile weeks. I remember the hottest day in San Antonio this last July was 107, and I ended up riding 160 miles just on that day. And that week ended up being a 450-something mile week for me. And so anyway, I was really enjoying it, but a couple challenges that I had. My wife made it very plain that she did not like biker bod. And I was getting kind of gangly and skinny all around here, but my legs were like kadoosh, just big old legs. I don't know if you've seen those Tour de France guys, which I really enjoyed watching the Tour de France and some of the other bike races now, because now that I can sympathize to some degree with what they're going through by riding so much all the time and climbing so much all the time in the extreme temperatures. I've enjoyed bike racing. Even though we all look goofy, everyone looks goofy on their bike, I can relate because I feel like I know somewhat what they're going through in a sense. having just ridden in a few different big rides and just mostly riding by myself. But I was getting real skinny. I got down to the 140s, which is like really skinny for me. Almost my basic training weight when I was 19 and went in the Air Force. I was 132 when I went into basic training. I was more of a runner then and didn't really do much for lifting. They made you do push-ups. So whatever the minimum was to get in the Air Force was about my upper body strength, and then I was a better runner than I was upper body strength guy. And so I think I've always been naturally a stronger and lower body, and so that's one of the reasons I think the bike was just natural for me. But besides my wife letting me know like she does not like biker bod, I began to come into some other issues because I'm like, okay, I'm in the 140s, I'm way below what my goal weight actually was. I don't look anything like what I thought I would look like. And I'm still dealing with some areas that are a little bit pudgy that how in the world do I get rid of these? I'm riding my bike like 400 miles a week. What's going on? And so I began to ask questions, and in the first video, when I wasn't motivated by so much detail, now I began to get motivated by the detail, where I'm looking for information. This person says this, and this person says this, and some of the information could go together, some of the information was opposite, so it's like, doing this with the Lord at the same time, like which one should I do, and understanding, different things that I like about how my body responds to different workouts. So for instance, I like doing cardio and strength training fasted. My body's just used to that, and I really have a lot of energy in a fasted state. And then after I'm done with the workout, then I'll break it with protein or something. Definitely not carbs right off the bat, but slowly bring those in later on in the day. Anyway, so details like that began to really matter, because what I realized what I was doing on my bike journey is, although it helped me drop 70 pounds, and I lost a lot of weight very fast and had a lot of fun doing it on my bike, that was not sustainable in the sense of I was not accomplishing my goals. And so I had enjoyed the bike so much, and it become such a part of my routine, that it was really difficult for me to make a shift and a change of mind to change my routine. And I'll talk about routine at the end, because that's more of the spiritual aspect of it. But it was really difficult to shift and to try this out, to not ride hundreds of miles a week. And so I peeled back to about 150, between 100 and 200 miles a week. Like, okay, I'll peel back some of the riding, I'll focus more on my eating, because remember in the first video I said I was eating mostly better. And so in October, November, and December was this gradual letting go of so much bike riding to really hone in on strength training and my diet, because again, I wasn't seeing the results that I thought I would see by then. Now, since I started my weight loss journey, I had always done weight training, but what I didn't know is the endurance bike riding, I'm going through cycles of burning through fat and then burning through muscle as fuel. So I was barely able, through the strength training that I was doing, I was barely able to keep up with what I was using as fuel for my next bike ride. And so I was just in this cycle of not really being able to build muscle, but at least maintain it while I'm losing weight. And then two, the other thing that I didn't realize endurance sports does is it actually holds on to visceral fat. That's the fat inside your belly around your organs and stuff like that, and maybe a portion of your love handles. And so what I realized is I'm burning all this outside surface fat, but I was still having like a big visceral fat issue and not understanding what was going on, and the endurance riding was not helping with that at all. So doing that as a regular part of my routine, like 400 miles on my bike a week, it was fun and I could do it. I felt invincible on my bike, but I was not growing in strength. Like my pedal board, if you've seen some of the videos I've done for my music or different things where I've highlighted my pedal board, or maybe you've seen it on social media somewhere, my pedal board is massive for my guitar. And it is heavy, it's got wheels, but even after a year of doing the strength training and the bike riding, my pedal board felt the same. Like I didn't feel like I was getting any stronger, and again, I wasn't looking like I wanted to look. And so I'm making these changes, exploring the details. So now I'm getting an appetite for more detail. Now that I'm motivated, that I lost 70 pounds, I thought I would build muscle underneath the fat, and then while I'm riding, it'll just shed off. And then all of a sudden, like Top Gun Maverick Rooster bod would just kind of be revealed. And that's not what the case was, because I was doing so much endurance stuff. So now I've really peeled back the bike riding, and I've continued to peel that back since October. Now we're in January, and I'm riding 30 to 50 miles. A 50-mile week is a big riding week, and that's usually because I'm just having fun, and I'm having too much fun on my bike. I don't care if I lose a little bit of muscle to ride past the 40-minute mark. And so even the way that I ride my bike and bringing in sprinting and rest periods and all that stuff has been really important. I've also started running, and by running I actually mean sprinting, to where I'll just ride my bike to the football field and do some intervals of sprints and do some different calisthenics at another place. And then I'm still not a gym guy. I don't like going to the gym. I just like the private space, and I like my music. I don't want to go listen to their bebops and dance music, be surrounded by people, and then constantly waiting on the machine or the weight that I want, and then they make you wear a shirt. And so I just really enjoy working out at home. So I've been building up dumbbells and pulley systems and pull-up bars. I mean, I don't have a lot, but I have enough that I feel like I can hit what I need to hit and be okay. But the biggest thing that I had noticed is, besides the strength training by itself, was the eating. I didn't realize how much eating really played a role into what my goals were. And so even though I had lost 70 pounds and I was eating mostly better, I wasn't eating the stuff that would build muscle, and I wasn't eating the carbs that would go with the stuff that builds muscle, but stuff, protein. I think we all know that. So I really had to re-examine how I eat. And so eating's been huge. And again, I still don't want to get lost into the minutia of the details and then lose motivation. So what I had to do for a couple weeks is really track the best I can with what I'm burning. I don't have an Apple Watch or any of that high-tech fun stuff. So the best I can do is just guess and get ballparks at this point. But I'm seeing the results that I want, and I'm really happy with what's been going on so far. I might go into another phase of the details in a moment, but right now what I've done is I've tracked my meals and my activity for a couple weeks so that I can understand when I eat this sandwich, or when I eat this steak, or when I eat this chicken salad, when I eat whatever, fill in the blank, I already know how many calories it is. So I'm always just ballparking in my head how much I'm having, and then I know when I can fudge a little bit, and I know, how much I'm going to burn on a bike ride in a ballpark sense, or on a strength training day. I know how much I'm going to burn, and so it's like I can generally count and round and get close. And then also using the feeler of my stomach, I can tell when I'm getting too much in there and I need to just settle down and let that sit for a little bit before I have the next portion or the next snack. And so I've really been paying attention to that. And then when I go to snack, when I feel super snacky, instead of eating chips or other things, I'll snack on protein stuff, which has been a huge shift for me. Because when I was riding my bike so much, I'd get done riding 130 miles, I'd come home and I would pound 2 Tombstone pizzas. And the next day, still wake up, lose weight, and just feel like skinny and terrific. I still love, when you ride 100 miles, I still love the way that your body feels the next day when you wake up. And I love the sleep that you get from doing that. It's incredible. So I'm going to keep those type rides, but I'm only going to do those maybe once or twice a quarter. It's not a regular part of my routine anymore. And so those are the things that I've been learning, the shifts that I've been having to make to accomplish my goals, because I was surprised that it didn't just melt off the fat and then boom, there was the muscle. I wasn't eating right. I was riding too much for my strength training to have any lasting effect. Again, I was basically just, carbing up constantly, and then my strength training, since I would ride fasted, my strength training would just be enough to provide muscle to burn as I'm going again through the cycles of burning fat, burning muscle, and then your body's cued to store visceral fat when you do such endurance training. So anyway, fun season. I really enjoyed it, learned a lot, and I'm learning a lot now. I don't think I'll ever go back to 450 miles a week on my bike, but I still ride it and I still really, really enjoy it. But again, I don't ride near as much. So when I do, I go fast and I have a smile on my face. But anyway, the thing that I learned about myself that's really got my attention and got me thinking in other areas, because my wife had always observed of me that I tend to have an addictive personality, and I've had others point that out. My wife had brought that up in the past, but now I'm starting to see like how that happens is I'm such a routine-based guy. I know some people like to be a little bit more spontaneous, but I thrive in routine. I don't mind spontaneity, and I've gotten to the place where I can get outside of my comfort zone, enjoy a spontaneous moment, but then get plugged back into my routine to live life. So when people ask me how I'm doing or what I'm up to now, and I'm just like, yeah, same old thing, I say that with a smile on my face because that's where I thrive. I thrive in the routine. I thrive in the same old thing. I never picked this up in the profound way that I did this last fall. When I would work at different companies or in the military, I would get settled in the routine of, current operating procedures and expectations and job descriptions, and then as soon as I'm settled, it seemed like we'd get a new leader that would just come and change everything with their brilliant ideas. It's funny when you're in a place long enough, you just go through cycles of this guy has this idea, and this guy has this idea, and this guy has this idea, and go on, and you just keep repeating this cycle or like this bounce between like all these, nothing's new. It's like everyone's looking for some way. I don't know. I don't want to talk about that, but in those moments, I would just get unsettled of like, why are they changing it up? Why is this rule changing? Why is this policy changing? Why is my job changing? Like, I like my job. Leave me alone and don't touch me. So I love routine, and I didn't really notice it again until I had to get out of the mindset of riding my bike as much as I was. That was like overcoming stuff that I've had to overcome before, where it was on purpose. I had to say no to that, say no to other things. And so what I had to do when I shifted that routine was realize, hey, riding 100 such and such miles on my bike on a given day, or having these goals on my bike, that wasn't my goal when I set out. My goal was to lose weight, and I had specific visual goals that I wanted to achieve, healthy feeling goals that I wanted to achieve. And I had enjoyed the bike so much, and it had become such a big part of my routine that was actually getting in the way of my real goal. But I forgot about my goal because I was having so much fun on my bike. So I began setting goals on my bike, and that became my routine. So when it came time to change the routine, it was really difficult. I mean, those first couple weeks of just not riding my bike, my body felt like I was cheating or cheaping out. I'm like, oh no, what am I doing? I just really had to trust what I felt like I needed to do in redefining my goal and understanding what my actual goal was and returning to that. And so after a couple weeks go by, I noticed I was retaining more muscle from eating better and riding less. And I was getting stronger feeling, where my pedal board, I'd pick it up and I'm like, oh, this actually feels a lot easier now. And so through that, I really feel like I've learned the lesson of understanding like how good or bad routines get established, and how it was so easy for me to get into an addiction, like the porn, cigarettes, alcohol, ice cream. It was so easy to get into those because as soon as it becomes routine, it's just like, that's where I thrive. And so before I started my weight loss journey, like I was doing ice cream a lot, most nights, honestly. And it's like, I'm out of ice cream, so I got to go get more. And I would just constantly have access to that. And it's like, at the end of the day, like I'd have ice cream, or, at this time I have such and such. And, whether it's good or bad, it's just I'm thriving in the routine. And so I begin to see like that's how the how sets in. So even when Allie and I were just in Tennessee, and we know we're in feast mode and we're going to enjoy eating at the different places with our future in-laws, and then there's things on the East Coast that we don't have here, like Mayfield's Moose Tracks ice cream, which is delightful, and I think I mentioned it last video. And so we had a lot of Mayfield's Moose Tracks ice cream, actually. But, the temptation that I got to guard against when I get home is, now that I'm used to having that on somewhat of a regular basis while we were at Tennessee. I'm used to eating a certain way when we're at Tennessee. I've really had to safeguard myself from that becoming routine in my life now, and let feast mode be feast mode and enjoy the feast when it's here, but settle back down into a healthy routine. And it's really helped me guard against even just sin and other time-wasting things, as I'm like, I can't let that into my routine. I can't say yes to those things, because as soon as you say yes to things that shouldn't be in your routine and it begins to get established in the routine, then it's harder for it to get out. And so that was the big thing that I've learned about myself in making this shift is, goals can change based on routine, and I have got to keep an eye on what I allow into my routine and really be intentional on what I disallow in my routine as well. And then keeping my goals clear so they don't get convoluted by compromises that I'm making in my routine. I hope that makes sense. And I shared this video and the previous video on my weight loss journey, both practical and spiritual. If perhaps it might help and motivate some of you, I'm not an expert that's going to give you all the microns and microbes and macros and science and stuff. I'm just kind of generally summing up, and definitely not an expert. There's a lot of really smart guys and a lot of questionable guys and folks on YouTube that I've listened to, and just curating this information that's helping me on my journey. If I don't see that final finished product that I want by late spring, I'll probably hook up with the personal trainer this summer, and that'll be 2 years into the journey. And maybe I could have done this faster, but I've enjoyed it. So if there's further updates, I'll share them with you. But again, that first video, I talk a little bit more about the beginning part of my journey, and that link will be in the description. And thank you guys for watching this video, and I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.